Once I reach 1,000 subscribers, I will always have a live chat on the first Friday of the month at 8 p.m. So please subscribe, click on the bell, and let's get 1,000 subscribers very soon. Good morning and welcome back to Planet Althistory. Today we are going to discuss what if humans are alone in the universe. Alternate history, future history, there is a very slim separation between the two. While alternate history is of course the thought experiment where you change your point of divergence from the past, future history is basically a thought experiment of what might come in the future. And today I decided to go with a future history because of course we don't know yet for 100% whether we are alone in the universe or not, or whether it is a multiverse or just a simulation. We as humans are just in the mere beginning of the space adventure. The Space Force was created recently, Luxembourg is investing space mining, and we also picked up some signals from space which had a very regular pattern and are up to a debate whether it's from alien source or from a neutron star. Nowadays, if someone says that aliens exist, most people agree with that person, or they will just ignore it because they just don't like the topic. But the opinion that humans are alone is nowadays in the minority, I would say. Most of the science fiction stuff includes aliens. Animes, mangas include aliens, and if you make a reinterpretation of religious books, you might also find hints of alien stuff. But what if aliens just don't exist? And the Fermi paradox has a point. So let's discuss what if humans are alone in the universe. First of all, if humans are alone in the universe, we won't really notice it until very, very late. There would still be many people who would disagree with the fact that humans are alone in the universe, and after all there were many Earth-like exo-planets, right? I mean, they still exist, and the universe is so big we can't really measure it. Of course, while this might be right, these are not proofs for extraterrestrial life. They are just indications of a possibility for extraterrestrial life. This future history won't also take into account the political changes on Earth, so the first settlement humans could have outside of the Earth would be on the Moon, Venus or Mars. Mars would be the best so far, but the Moon, even with the deadly life conditions, would have the advantage that goods could be easier transported from one point to another, and that the Moon could serve as a base for future expeditions to come. That's where the first human settlements would be created, and let's say it would be of about some decades after there would be a much bigger ISS, which would also have to take some decades at least. The astronauts and the scientists would still try to make an analysis all over space, especially on Mars and Venus for the time being, but they would not find any sign of life. And due to the population growth and lack of resources, space mining would be more profitable and people would be more open to create settlements for adventurers and people who wish to live in space. The Moon would not get such settlements, as the role of the Moon would be merely of logistics, but Mars would be open for a wider human settlement. So where the Moon, they would rather have like scientists as the main population, and also engineers and whatever the heck of jobs will exist in the future, whereas Mars would be more diversified. They would really be able to be independent in the sense of jobs or human talents. Sure, it will take a lot of time until the solid capsule and isolated city is built, but eventually it will happen, and parallelly to that, scientists will try to bring some life forms of Earth that could transform Mars' atmosphere. Venus will most likely get cloud settlements, but they won't gain much of importance, and Mercury would take a similar role as Antarctica. Some specific scientists will settle there in some research centers, and they would mainly observe the sun and become very important, but not huge in numbers. Jupiter's and Saturn's moons, they will have similar settlers as Mars, only a few years later, while Uranus and Neptune's moons will get similar stations as Mercury, and Pluto or some other planetoids will get a more important station. Because Pluto or the other planetoids, they will have a similar role as the Moon, only that this time expeditions will be sent to other solar systems. The settlers on Mars could grow bigger in number until they evolve some type of identity and they become Martians. Not the green Martians, but human Martians. They're ancestors of them that came to Mars. They were adventurous, they were explorers, they were scientists, they were freedom-loving people who fled from tyrannical governments on Earth, and paired with the harsh conditions that exist on the planet, I can imagine that the mentality of the Martians would be that of the early US settlers, people of Alaska, Siberia or Australia, for instance, in the outback. Eventually Mars might even gain independence, and Europa and Titan could follow suit. The expansion of humanity would go on and on until more solar systems would be discovered, colonized, and form their own independent nations eventually. Terraforming of planets similar to Mars would be easily done, and planetoids, moons, they would serve as good accelerators. Asteroids would be taken for resources, sunlight would be used to almost 100%, and a ring or even a Dyson sphere could be built around stars. This would be a project that would take a few decades at least. After some more decades, humans of the Earth would become a minority, and most humans never set actually foot on Earth or even the solar system, except for some high officials or important workers or diplomats, for instance. So humans on Earth, they would be considered conservative and anti-science, while humans outside of Earth would be considered themselves as the best humans, who have a greater impact on technology, as they were risking their lives day in and day out. A few options would open up. Every human as part of the education would be sent in space or to Earth, if they were born on Mars for instance, or there would be a wider exchange between the civil population on universities, so you would have universities that make a space Erasmus program, or there will be exchanges of work between cities, or you could just have more separatism, leaving the humans on Earth stuck and becoming somewhat like Song or Ming China, whereas the rest of humanity, they would continue their quest for space, but not because they would love to do it, but it would be out of necessity. They needed resources. Most settlements were not on terraformed planets, asteroids far and wide, and some groups, they would still be curious if there was actually alien life, although this idea would start to become abandoned, and humanity outside Earth, they would also then have their own type of manifest destiny moment. Space would belong to humans, even the whole universe, and that would be the whole purpose of human existence, to populate all of the universe. Earthlings, as the space humans would call them, they would still be seen as lazy, but if separatism would be prevented, Earth could perhaps get back into a positive light and be seen as the place where it all started. Kinda how Europeans see Greece or Rome, for instance, in our time, right now. At this point, and you guessed it, humanity continues to expand far and beyond. First settlements in satellite galaxies would be established, most of the Milky Way would be accurately mapped, Dyson spheres would be the norm, speed faster than the light would be totally normal, and only a slim percentage of humans would be born on Earth. At this point, Earth would be too far for most humans, and they would totally lose touch with Earth. Still no aliens. And the idea of aliens at this point would almost die out and just be a fantasy like magic. There it would be popular to think about it, but nobody would really take it serious. Too much money had been wasted in the research for aliens, and people would laugh about it, but also hate it. As we now laugh about our ancestors, what they did and what they believed in. In all these years, humans would change. The gravity of planets would have an impact. The genetic pool would change. Because humans on the edge of the Milky Way, they would have different relations than the ones who are on Earth, for instance. And this would also mean that they would then also start to look differently, and that is also due to the fact that the rays of the stars would have an effect on the skin and the appearance. Language would change. Technology would be repurposed according to their needs within each planet and solar system. And eventually, after millions of years of expansion in about many galaxies of the universe, humanity would not be humanity anymore, but you would have many different humans which would coexist, hide each other, mix, or forget about each other. They would eventually be aliens to each other. Some human species, they would be taller, others would be stronger, some would have perhaps a grey skin, others would be almost unable to breathe the air from Earth, and whatnot. Space and the universe would be conquered by humans, and even the multiverse too. Who knows? What could happen next? Could they avoid the destruction of the universe by creating a new artificial universe? Or would they go to another universe that actually exists and prove the theory that the multiverse exists is totally correct? Or they would time travel and just mess up with time. There are many possibilities what could happen in that moment. And also probably at one point humans might also mix with machines, become cyborgs, or the AI might take over and kill all humans. We don't know what the future holds, but that's it for this scenario. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed my video. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a comment, support me also on Patreon, and join my forum, forum.planetalthistory.ga. Until next time on Planet Alt History.